What is going on, everybody? It's Peyton Pilgrim, Next Wave analyst, and we are coming with another macro analysis. We're going to be looking at the monthly candles today. We're going to be looking at some of the news for this week. It is NFP week, and we're going to be taking a look at a lot of different markets. We're going to start off with the currencies. We are mainly Forex traders, but we do love to trade the indices, the cryptos, oil. We trade it all. Okay. So we're going to look at all the major markets. We might dip into a little bit of the bond market. I like to go in depth in these analyses. I like to go in depth, right? So let's get to it. First things first, I do like to look at investing.com for my news. There's definitely some fundamentals this week to pay attention to, mainly the AUD Monday, GBP Thursday, and USD. Kind of there's every day for USD possible volatility. So it's not my favorite type of week. I love trading strictly technicals, but I understand that the fundamentals pretty much play a big role in this market. So let's look at this real quick. It says that there's also CHF CPI numbers come out Wednesday. So that's going to be something that moves in -1. I think that's pretty good for them. So that's just going to be another thing to watch out for. I do trade the CHF. All right, so let's go over to the charts and check out what we got going on. First, we're going to start with the dollar, and we're going to go to the monthly. Oops, there we go. Okay, and so we are starting to get this, candle close. I mean, not starting to, it closed. This is a closure of this candle. The next candle is going to open up today. Technically, it'll still open right here, but it's going to close in a couple of hours, and that will be in my opinion, somewhat of a reversal signal, right? We get this type of volume with this type of candle. To me, that's showing exhaustion, right? There's more participants, more effort with less price action. Now, are we 100% just going to reverse? I am not saying that at all. Okay, I'm not saying that at all, but you can see we're outside of a monthly Bollinger Band, okay, way overextended, and there's higher volume coming into the market with the wick. To me, it's showing exhaustion. We might get another test up, and we might continue up higher. But in a macro perspective, this to me is somewhat of a topping signal. Could take months. I'm not sure how long the timing of it's going to take, but this is definitely somewhat of a signal. You can see the downtick as well in the momentum here. Okay, I usually have an RSI on, but it's the same thing. We don't need the RSI. Okay, let's go to the weekly, and you can start to see two bearish weeks in a row with the volume picking up, with a downtick in a weekly momentum as well. And so this is back inside of the bands on the weekly. You can see of this little channel here that it's kind of still inside. And I don't believe it's super bearish until it really breaks out of this channel, really until it breaks out of the structure swing. Okay, because ultimately it could just be coming back into this major structure area, and then it will look like a breakout, could hold here, could hold at this middle of the Bollinger Band, and then move to the upside. So still in a macro perspective, what we're seeing is, yes, it is getting to an area where it's looking exhausted, but the trend is still bullish. The trend is still very much bullish. And until there is a turnaround, we have to keep our bias technically to the upside. Now, in lower time frames, there's going to be opportunities for opportunity to take this to the downside, since we're seeing that it could fall, right? So the trend line is more or less not what we're focusing on. Okay, we're focusing on this structure area down here. Let me grab this. We're focusing on this point really right here. And then this is going to be another structure area, right? Since this is a monthly level that should hold as support for at least a little bit. It should give somewhat of support. And you can see big buyers did step in here and sent the price up after, you know, negotiating some price for a little bit, right? So there was definitely interest here at one point. Now, like I said, if this breaks, we're looking to the downside. Let's go to the daily, and we can start to see the slowing down of this right here. You can see the wick, tons of wicks to the downside. Okay, to me, that is showing that this is questioning whether it wants to continue down or not. And the volume, okay, the volume is kind of telling me maybe it's questioning it as well, because every time it does big volume, you want to see somewhat of a big candle, right? So it made this big volume spike with this big candle after it broke out. That's like, okay, yeah, we're going up. But when we get big volume with not big candles, that's a signal to make you kind of scratch your head, like a volume divergence in a sense. And with this being right here at these fibs, if I take it from this low to this high, we are right at the 61.8 fib. So that's from this impulse move up, and you could really see it better on the 4 hour. But if I take it all the way down here from the swing to swing, the monthly level sits right into that 702. So me personally, on a macro perspective, I would like to see it come all the way down into here eventually before I see a move to the upside. Okay, and I would like this to hold. Now at that point, what I would like to see then is I would like to see, okay, maybe the market, however it gets there, that doesn't matter. I would like to see another move to the upside. And then I would like to see the MACD make the divergence, okay? So we have right now 2 waves of divergence. If there's 3 solid waves right here, that's a very big turnaround signal for me, just a complete reversal signal. And that would give me more confidence of us completely reversing macro, you know, maybe inflation stopping or tipping out, just other currencies with their rate hikes going into perspective, right? You got to think where the smart money is going to really want to go. Got to look at the bond market maybe to see where that's going to go as well. So long term, yes, I would like to see this eventually get hit, but what we're looking at right here, and I don't really want to go into the 4 hour today, but for this example, we need to, okay? And we don't need to go into the 4 hour on the euro because it's going to be the inverse. But from this swing down here, this impulsive move, okay, that's what we're fibbing. We're close to that. We're close to that zone. I'm going to go ahead and mark off the zone. And I don't really play the 61.8. It's there. I see it. I'm going to mark off the 702 and 78.6 level. I'm going to make that a demand area. And if price comes into that this week, I do think there will be some reaction. Now, I could be swiftly wrong, and price could just die straight into the area I actually want it to go into. But there is a good enough risk to reward, in my opinion, for if price gets into the 78.6 and it does make a move out of here, I think there's a possibility for price to just go from here. There's no reason that it has to come down here. So I'm going to just play the probabilities of this as well, right? So these are the 2 areas basically that I'll be looking for bulls on the dollar. If they break impulsively to the downside, I will switch my bias most likely. But until then, a macro perspective bias, I see nothing but bullish dollar until the Fed calls peak inflation, basically, which they're trying to. and they just haven't shown it with their rates yet. So basically the next rate hike isn't until September. So we have all of August coming up with no rate hike. September is going to be the next rate hike. So they have a lot of time to see what the data is going to do. Okay. More short term, I guess, if it comes down into here, yeah, no, there's really no short term play for me right now. I'm going to wait to see what happens on the macro perspective. Okay. And so inversely, that should bring the euro, to the upside a little bit and then crash down one more time. Okay. But it doesn't have to happen that way. The euro could gain strength versus the dollar's weakness, right? We can see what happens. So let's go to the weekly and let's look and see where we are on the weekly. Now, it's broken these levels just like the dollar has broken those same levels. And it didn't put that line on there for me. There we go. Okay, broken through that. And technically, like on a technical perspective, it would need to get above this level to even think about being, and this could be a monthly level even. And we need to go look at the monthly, in fact. Sorry. So you can see monthly, if you're going to draw it from the monthly, you really even need to bring it right here, because the monthly has failed to close below this level. And it's not going to close below that level. And with the volume right here, it's signaling that it could be exhausted soon, just not 100% yet. Now, there could be a switch in the sentiment where this thing just goes, yeah, I am ready actually. But this type of volume and price action does signal we're getting close, but we might have one more test. We might have one more wick down, right? We might have 1 or 2 more months where it does something like that. Okay. So I'm preparing myself for that, but I also understand how overbought we are, sold we are, and how overextended we are. So let's go into the weekly again. Okay. And right, it's lower lows and lower highs, lower lows and lower highs. It has not changed the structure yet. There's no reason to be 100%. I mean, and just like the dollar, right? Till it breaks this area, we don't have to worry about a full shift. But there is this lower time frame area that we can maybe take advantage of. Same thing as the dollar, inversely of the dollar. So on the weekly, there's no divergence really. On this last swing down, it did give a hair divergence there, but overall the momentum is still coming down as the price is coming down. The volume is still picking up as price is coming down. There was a little bit of raise in volume right here with this bullish candle, but nothing too serious with that type of price action, right? If it would have closed with no wick, been a different story. Let's go down into the daily, and we'll be able to mark up stuff on the daily a lot easier. As we get this big break of the monthly level, we can draw this fib from this swing to here, and we haven't gotten anywhere close to the 61.8 yet. Some would draw it up here, and that's technically neither of these are wrong, okay? But I would go ahead and play this first one just because there should be a reaction around this monthly level, which lines up smooth with the 702, middle of the 61.8, 78.6. So everything's lining up to me. If this does get up here, I believe it presents itself a really nice pattern. You get this A, B, C correction, and then you should see a move down from there. Now, if it does decide to just go ahead and say F you and just kind of break through this, then will probably be switching my bias to look for a bullish move here, okay? As it would look like it broke through that monthly level, and it would probably make another move to the upside, right? But as for now, this still remains bearish. Same thing, like I said, with the MACD, I want to see a full-blown bearish, or now here, bullish divergence. So this is still kind of swinging down right here. It's showing the momentum is decreasing, or the momentum is increasing to the downside, right? What I want to see is a form of bullish divergence where you see how price moves down, but then the indicator moves up, then we get price to move up. We need to have that happen right here where price moves down lower than this, but the indicator does not. The indicator will somewhat look like this. And we would get that type of move. And that would indicate a bottom for me. I'm waiting for somewhat of a bottoming pattern in my indicator pattern, in my indicators. Okay. Nothing is telling me bottom yet. If anything, this just looks like a perfect ABC or perfect bearish flag long term. Now, same thing. I don't want to go into the 4 hour. Definitely don't want to go into the 4 minute. Let's go to the 4 hour. And there is this lower time frame possibility, right? That this bottom could hold. Okay. And we could see, you know, this move happen. And I would like to partake. I would like to partake if price can make one more move down, taking out all this liquidity down into this area. I have a feeling there's a lot of volume down here, and then we'll move up. I believe that's what would happen. You can see this area right here, right? This was the highest volume out of this area. So, and that was most likely some news, but this area right here also had a ton of volume, particularly this candle, right? And what happened right before that candle, there was a stop hunt. And so this type of stuff is what I look for to confirm possible bottoms. So this little pattern right here, we had this move down, broke out the bottom, and then move up, higher volume that sent the price up. So to me, if I extend this out to the right, that's the area where I'm really looking for price to come back into in really just a bullish candle. I would like price to come back into this area and then go up. All right. So ultimately, if we get that, that's like a picture perfect setup for me. And it took it away. But right there, picture perfect setup. If it goes up first, I'm going to have to maybe call BS. Maybe. I'll have to check the divergence, the volume, because this is definitely an area we're looking for price to come down at. Okay, and it makes sense. You can see the high volume here with this candle wide open. It is, some people call that fair value gap. That's what I have it marked off as. Some people call it imbalance. Okay, however, whatever you want to call it, this is kind of the area 702 of the fib that we're looking for. All right. So once it gets back into this monthly level, we got to look for some type of bearish divergence to look for sells. Okay. Ultimately, this thing might turn around. Macro, macro, macro. I want one more lower low, just like pretty much on all the things. Crypto, I want a lower low. The stock market, I want a lower low, just to confirm the divergence, but you don't always get that divergence look. Okay. Let's go to the pound. The British pound, and we'll start on the monthly to get a big picture. Now, this is interesting. Very interesting how the monthly is closing with this doji-like candle, okay, right above a monthly level as well. So I'm going to bring this out here, and we failed to close, failed again. We could even bring it up to like right here, and it still pretty much failed to close above it. Okay. I'm having a feeling that this is looking like a Wyckoff accumulation structure on a monthly time frame. So that means it could take forever to play out, but if it does, if this is a Wyckoff accumulation structure, that means the pound is going to end up here in a couple of months to a year. But the volume on this is good. It's above average. It's not above the candle before it. So it doesn't necessarily mean we're reversing ASAP. There might be another test below this to see if this is really going to hold or not. And that's what they do. They test the supply and demand levels. Momentum is still down. So It's early to call a reversal, but the price action and where it held is very interesting. Okay, let's go to the weekly and just weekly pattern. Beautiful weekly price action pattern, right? The monthly looked a little early, but the weekly doesn't. The weekly looks perfect for a opportunity to take this to the upside. Honestly, it failed to close below the monthly level, and we'll mark this off as a monthly level. And it failed to close below this for more than really just 2 weeks, and we're back above it. It could be the early sign, right? It could build a case down here, more like a Wyckoff on the 1 hour or sorry, daily now. But I'm still looking for an opportunity. This could be the bottom, right? Same thing. I would ultimately like one more move down, but something different about this one than the other ones is it did create the 3-wave divergence already. So with this pattern right here, and then here, it did give the reversal pattern already. It kind of already gave a daily, full-blown daily reversal pattern with the 3-wave divergence that I like to see. We got 1 wave here, 2 wave, and this would be the 3rd wave. And each wave made lower lows, but the momentum didn't. And so when I see this type of pattern right by a monthly level and it broke out above the monthly level, that is a really good indication for me that we could be seeing a possible like a full-blown macro reversal. Now, could there be one more lower low? Yes, if the dollar makes a new high, this is most likely going to make a new low. But I will take the chances of this move here because that's a definite possibility. So the thing about it is how I play these moves. We'll need to go onto the lower time frame to really see it, but you can see how the momentum is coming up strong. There is what they call hidden bearish divergence here. So we still technically have not broken this swing high yet. So the structure is still swing low, swing high, swing low, swing high, swing low. This could be not a swing high, right? Or sorry, not a swing high, but a lower low, lower high. This could be a higher high if it breaks here, but still is technically a lower low. We could roll over. If we go down to the 4 hour, I want to get a shot at this down in this area. You can see it has had a little bit more of a move than the euro, a little bit stronger. But this move right here, I would, if it, this is the thing about this one. If this move breaks below here, I'm still going to be interested in price if it comes into this area. Okay, but if we do break below this monthly level, depending on how it does break below the monthly level will be depending on how, if we play a move up into this or not, right? So if it kind of just breaks slowly and just starts to like go like this, well, then I won't even care. I will just be waiting for this bullish opportunity down here and I'll look for a buy. If it does this in like the next couple of days, basically erases this bullish move, which it almost already has, and just comes back down like this, kind of breaks below the structure, below the trend line, below the monthly level, all that, all in once kind of, that'll show me impulse. We're probably coming down. We're probably going to get an opportunity to sell the pound into this week, maybe buy it next week. Either way, this is still an opportunity that I'm going to look for in the pound right here. I'm gonna have to fib the whole move up. And yes, there's an opportunity here as well, but I'm gonna wait for the whole move. I'm gonna wait for that whole macro move right there, basically. And then this is definitely a possibility on that lower time frame. Okay, and I'm gonna just leave this here because that is probably gonna happen. All right, let's go to the Australian dollar, which you can see the difference in these pairs. The euro had that nice impulse and is just corrected. The pound had that nice impulse, corrected, and then impulsed again. And then the Australian dollar impulsed more than all of them and just has steadily corrected up without retracing at all. So I am in the camp of this starting to retrace. Now, sometimes when a real trend is starting, these patterns will wreck me. And I can't even lie, because when divergence takes a long time to play out, that usually means it's not going to play out. But I can't not see the divergence in this move. Okay. Especially how these have somewhat corrected more than the Australian dollar, and they have rates coming up. They're hiking their rates tomorrow. So I would love for there to be a correction and then have an opportunity to buy it, because I think ultimately with them raising rates, it's going to be bullish. I think regardless of what happens, even if they don't raise rates, I have a feeling that the Australian dollar is going to be a little more bullish than everything. And here's my real case on that. When we go into a monthly time frame and we compare all of these on a monthly, just like we did on the lower time frame, the GBP came all the way down into this basically May 2020, September, those scary moments in COVID times, right? For the euro, it went below that. For the pound, it had, or for the Australian dollar, hasn't even gotten close to it. In fact, it hasn't even gotten close to the 50%. Hasn't, or it's probably hit the 50% fib. Has not hit the 61.8 fib yet. So the overall macro move of the Australian dollar is stronger. This correction has been weaker than all the other currencies. So long-term macro, this should be the strongest one. This and probably the NZD, but I don't trade the NZD, right? This has the prettiest setup as well. Even if it does come down a little further, it makes one more move down like I want to see in the whole macro perspective. It would make sense. It has the inverted head and shoulders. That would make sense. So everything about the Australian dollar, to me, strength-wise, looks promising longer term. When we go into the daily, or let's go to the weekly first. Okay, just a smooth correction. We could draw a channel. You can see the channel. It's pretty clean. Smooth correction is just sat inside here. We've rejected off last couple weeks, bouncing back into the middle of the channel, which would be literally just another one of these. Let's copy and paste this right here. So we're right back into the middle of the channel. It's coming into a swing point where it could swing down again. But what is cool about the Australian dollar is we had some divergence here. On a weekly time frame, you don't see divergence a lot on the weekly. So that could be a turnaround. If it gives one more move down, it will be three-wave divergence on a weekly. That will be an extremely bullish indicator for me. Let's go to the daily and see where this market is at this swing point, okay? Because obviously this swing here, up here to here, is what probably everyone is looking at. And the market is almost at the 61.8. It's giving a lot of rejection with the doji, with the high volume doji. So to me, that is kind of the first indication that we're about to see somewhat of a reversal, at least for a short term, like a short-term trade on a lower time frame maybe. But I still like this pricing a little bit higher personally. So if we just peep the 4-hour real quick again, right, we're getting this extreme volume coming in. One more move up with divergence here, and that will be 3 waves. And I will be interested in these pricings up here for a turnaround. Now, what I would really like to see is if this level broke with some force and a correction. I would honestly rather see that, get price into some more interesting pricing for me personally, to look for a macro bullish move down in here. So pretty much the euro, the pound, and the Australian dollar, I want them all to correct, which would mean I do want the dollar. I want the dollar to move up. But first, I need it to come down here. And then I would like to see this move up here. That would ultimately bring everything down one more time. Okay, let's go to the Swiss franc, where it kind of is in its own league a little bit. On the monthly, it just closed very bullish. So I don't even want to look for sells on this pair just because of this type of price action on a monthly time frame. I think anything below whatever this price is right here is not going to work out. I don't think price is going to break lower than this. And it's most likely just going to continue up just because of this type of, this type of price action. You don't see it all the time on a monthly time frame. You just don't. Okay, weekly. Big volume, big candle. I think we should play the bulls. We have to be careful of this correction, but like I said, I don't think price is going to get past this wick down here. But there is still an opportunity. Bears are definitely going to come in at the 78.6 here. And I don't doubt them. This is a key level right here. Just a key level. I could say it's a weekly level, whatever. But that's definitely a key level where maybe on a lower time frame, we can definitely look for some type of shorting scalp opportunities. But yeah, there's probably going to be a reaction here. Let's be honest. Ultimately, though, I want to see this move continue to make higher highs and higher lows, just like it has. This is the structure shift right here, basically. This whole move where it failed to break this low and then it broke this high. So I'm just going to continue to expect this to move up. Now, I will be honest. If this does break any higher, which it is going to, we have increasing volume with price moving up. I'm going to have to play my rules. And if it creates the three-wave divergence, even if I'm not 100% on the monthly time frame, because these are wicks on a monthly time frame, I'm still going to have to play my cards here and just at a half risk, right? Because that's a setup that I personally don't see very often at all. A three-wave divergence from a bearish flag inside of a channel. So I didn't really draw the channel, but you don't really need the channel. Okay. Oops. Right, so top of the channel, that would be three waves. That would just be too perfect. Lower time frame, I'm sure it would have to have a little bit more divergence, and it does have a little bit, but on the 4 hour, it's just clearly bullish, making higher highs and higher lows. You don't really want to go against that. So the smartest play, if it's going to sell off up here, it'll switch that structure on the 1 hour, definitely the 4 hour, but it could be something I wait for. Since I'm bullish on it on the monthly time frame, I might want to wait for it on that lower time frame if I'm going to trade it the other way. Then I'm looking for the macro, right? Let's go to the the yen. And this is a very interesting pair. We've been talking about the yen for maybe 2 months now, maybe 3 months, maybe 4 months. Okay. It's been at this level for 2 months now. It was at this key level for the longest. well, not the longest, but it hit this level, stayed here for a minute. I was trying to call bulls here. It called bullshit on me and went straight through to the next zone. So now what it's doing though is it's making me feel like it really faked me out right here and we're about to come up. So it's a little early still to call bulls on the yen, but being above the old all-time low. So old all-time low, right? That's important. And if it can stay above it, I'm going to be bullish. I can't lie. And with this type of price action and volume increasing, I'm going to probably take some type of shot at it because that's the one thing about trading. You don't ultimately know what's going to happen. The best thing about trading is you just get to assess your probabilities however fast you want to. It's not like gambling where you have a time limit or where you have someone in front of you betting against you. You get to just assess your probabilities by yourself. And what I'm seeing is there is a probability that this is going to continue up. There's also a probability that could do this and just make another lower low. I did talk about how this could be the PSSC. We could see the AR. We could see another phase BST. We could see this thing play out forever, right? It could do this, come down here, come up here, fake out again, come down here, come down, make one more spring. Oh, we're back above the all-time highs, right? And ultimately, that's what should happen, honestly, if it's going to make a humongous macro move. Just like, let's see, GU, right? GU has made this humongous accumulation. You got the PS, SC, ARST, phase BST, another test NSB, phase ST, right? We could move up from here easily. That's not the case for the pound. It's just chilling. And you could call this possibly, and I'm seeing this just now, you could call this whole thing accumulation. This could be a capitulation move, and this could rocket ship out of here. If we see this macro, guys, I can promise you that this is going to do this. And I don't make promises a lot, but this would be a humongous macro spring that took freaking since 2015 to make. But we got a long way to go from there, guys. So let's go. Let's calm down a little bit and let's go down to the daily. And this is why I'm getting a little excited, to be honest, because of this. We're getting the most volume we've seen in a minute, and with the price continuing up, that is a continuation symbol. We haven't technically broken above this structure point yet, which really is some clean structure. It was support, was resistance, might be resistance again. But either way, I will be looking for pullbacks on the yen, just like everything else, basically. Okay. And we need to go down to the lower time frame to see it. Last week, we did call this move out right here on this minor zone. Price came right back into it and it made the move. Unfortunately, I'm very picky and I was waiting for it to break a little bit lower and then go up. It did not do that. It stopped perfectly, hit the targets perfectly. Okay, now we have a new impulse to mess with. Okay, you can see the big impulse in the MACD here. Another big impulse here. Two impulses. First impulse, we fibbed it, it made the extension. Now we have a new impulse, we fib it, it's going to make the extension. Except, oh, well, that's what we hope, right? So here we go, low to high. And if it continues up, we'll move the fib up. But as if it does continue up, it will almost confirm that this all-time low is going to line up with the fib. Regardless, I would like to see it come back into this fib area, maybe break below the all-time low again, making bears think it's going to drop and then come back above it, right? And really give that move to the upside that I want to see. And I mean, ultimately, it has been, kind of did shift structures. I was trying to say change structures and shift, and it really messed me up. And so we could see, this thing really start to move with this type of volume and this type of momentum. I like this the most, probably this week, even month maybe. Okay, and then let's look at the S&Ps now, guys. This is where it's gonna get a little tricky, in my opinion. So this type of monthly price action, I mean, come on. What are we supposed to think is gonna happen now? So they're like that on all of them. Okay. We got that on the NASDAQ, which, guys, I mean, look at this crap. It's almost impossible to be bearish on these now. Technically, from a technical perspective, how am I supposed to expect the NASDAQ to make a lower low next month when it just made a bullish engulfing off the bottom of the Bollinger Band? Come on. So I don't. I've been calling one more drop for a while, guys, and I still see it in the cards. But guess what? The dealer is he's showing blackjack pretty much. The dealer is pretty much telling me, yo, you're wrong. So I don't want to 100% switch my bias yet. But look, a whole monthly uptick in the MACD, that's a big sign. The volume, luckily, the volume isn't just taking over. Thank God. That's the one thing I'll say. The volume isn't taking over like the price action is. And that could be, look, this could be exactly the same thing what happened right here. Next month, we could just see this thing completely roll over. And if that's the case, we're in a situation where that's probably this is a fake move up, and that will be a fake move down. And that will be a big time liquidity grab on both sides. Okay, it'll be smart money faking the price up, smart money faking the price down to grab as much liquidity as they can to position themselves correctly. I'm not going to look at the stock market today, but I know a lot of stocks are busting out of some ranges. That could be fake. That could be real. We're going to look at crypto today, and that is another situation that could be very interesting. But look, there's no real technical levels that it came into. I mean, yes, there was some agreement right here for a month or two before price took off. So yeah, it did come back into that maybe, and it agreed again to go up again. But guys, I still think this needs to correct down more. If at the very least, I mean, at this point, I don't want to call numbers, just one more leg down. One more leg down. Let's go to the weekly. And I mean, you can't fight this though. You can't fight this. I would have to, at this point, I'll have to say that this, unless I get some crazy daily price action, I'm going to probably be bullish on this until we get all the way up here. To me, it does not look like this fib is going to hold. Yeah, man, I don't think we can be bullish or bearish. Sorry. We got to be bullish because I don't think this fib is going to hold personally. It could. We'll be able to see it on the daily a little bit. Let's go ahead and go to the daily. And you'll be able to see that this impulse right here has almost already taken the L. Volume is increasing as price is still breaking highs. There's a hair of divergence here. It's kind of flat momentum while this is still going up. I mean, the volume is flattish, but it's still slightly increasing. It's not, in my opinion, I would need to see, like I'm saying, talking about a complete bearish with high volume, bearish candle high volume to be any type of super bearish on this, but for some reason, I have this feeling that this month it's just gonna erase all of this with the negative GDP that came out. This is another thing. We're gonna have another negative GDP reading this month, and the Fed isn't gonna come in to be able to raise any rates yet. I think their plan is gonna backfire. That's what I have to hope. But at the same time, this level is just screaming at me that it faked below this low, and then it stayed above it, stayed above it, and stayed above it. And then it even stayed above this level. So there's just, I'm probably going to not trade the S&P unless there's a big, fat, obvious move. Because to me, the way it impulsed, okay, off this impulse right here, it didn't retrace enough. It made another impulse. That didn't retrace enough. It's made another impulse. Okay, this one didn't retrace at all. This one has not retraced at all. So I don't want to get caught in this being like an overextended move, right? One big overextended move, and then it needs to correct way more if it's going to go up again. So like, that's why I don't want to buy. I don't even think it's going to stop here. If it's going to correct, I think it's going to correct a little bit deeper and be more complex of a pullback, just because I don't like the way it is correcting. Like, it's correct. It's made 3 waves up. We got 1, 2, 3. Now I expect an ABC wave back down for something probably like, and this could be good for your swing, bro. 1, 2, 3, something into this level, and then a move up probably again. I don't think this is where the swing is going to start to swing down, honestly. And I don't really want to play the bulls because I don't 100% see it. Now, if the dollar does exactly what I want it to do, and this is what I need to look at real quick. Okay. Let's go to the dollar. And, ultimately, on the biggest macro perspective, I would like the dollar to come down into here. Okay. So if the dollar does come down a little bit more and then goes up, that would bring the indices up and then down. So do you hear me on that? I'm looking for the dollar to basically come down. If it does a perfect like move that I want it to do, which there's no way it's going to be perfect, it would be like August 17th. And then I would look for a move up. So if I go over into the indices, August 17th would be the move up, opposite, right? And then a move down, one more leg. So that would make a lot of sense, actually. If the dollar does exactly what I want it to do, then I will play this with my heart, okay? All the other indices are going to be the same thing. The only thing I'll say is that the NASDAQ has already broken the range, and it looks a little more strong. So if I'm going to buy something this week, it's going to be the NASDAQ versus the one that looks a little bit weaker. So this hasn't also gotten to its fibs, but it did break this swing high versus has not gotten to the fibs, but it has not broken the swing high either. So if one's going to be a little weaker, it's probably going to be this one versus the one that has already broke out of that. And I believe this one has not yet either. I personally either trade NASDAQ or I trade S&P. So I look at the Dow as well. It's a good benchmark indicator, but those are the two I look at. But it's the same thing as S&P right now. Okay. I still see the opportunity of this from this swing to this swing falling 1,000,000%. The probabilities are not in the biggest favor, in my opinion, just because we already are seeing NASDAQ kind of break that high. Now, one thing to notice right here is when it did break, it didn't give good volume. So that's kind of a false break possibility. We'll have to see what the real kind of follow through looks like. If this follow through, the next candle is low volume, we are getting ready to, we're drying up. And a lot of people were looking at this as this like bearish flag, and they're not wrong. But now we're kind of overthrowing it. I don't know. We'll see what happens with the indices. Like I said, they're in a spot where you got to be patient. I see all the order blocks and all that stuff, but yada, yada, yada. I would just be a little bit more patient than anything and watch what they really do this week. And then, yeah, let's look at the VIX real quick, because it's in that same kind of area where I'm just kind of waiting on it. The monthly is super choppy. It just closed with a big bearish candle though. The monthly is kind of hard to read, definitely. But with this type of price action, you know, that's not good for the VIX to go up. For my bias, for the indices to go down, this needs to be a bullish candle. But when I go down to a lower time frames, and even it has to be even lower than the weekly, which is decreasing probabilities, right? If you start going to even lower time frames in the daily and weekly, you start to decrease the probabilities. We get a break right here, so that's bullish for the indices. And then we get a, let's see, a daily. Let's look at the daily. Daily just broke this structure here. Now, I was kind of expecting that to happen. I've been saying I want this more or less down here to hold for this fake M, and then it breaks below the M and it goes up. It does that a lot. Okay, you see this M pattern, and it'll break just below the M and it'll go up. We get another M pattern, M break up, just all over the place. M break, M break up. So sometimes it takes a little longer than I expect, and it really could even be a bigger M than I'm looking at, right? We could be seeing this big M here, and it could break below all of this and then go up. It could just take a lot longer than I'm expecting, but something is telling me that the VIX isn't about to just die to the downside, which would really bring the indices up. It really would. Something's telling me that this kind of is a fake move, and it's not like something is telling me that. There is a just strong bullish divergence here, so I'm being patient with it. I don't necessarily watch this every day. I kind of come back to it maybe once or twice a day to see where it's at, and it's right now it's kind of saying no thank you. I'll continue down, so I got to be patient. Gold, everyone's favorite on gold. Gold is, wow, it really took off from this level. So the monthly, it has put in a crazy candle. You know, you don't see these candles very often. It looks like the Forex market made a lot of crazy candles you don't see very often. So this is an obvious level. Most people believed it was going to sweep through it, including myself, and it didn't. I'm still in that camp. I want to see it get swept, but you can't deny the price action that we're seeing. So let's see what it looks like on the weekly. And yeah, I mean, this is a really bullish signal, but when you get this type of price action, you want to see big volume, and it didn't even make more volume than the previous week. Bigger candle, not bigger volume. That is a sign that this isn't the biggest bullish run that we're probably going to see. Probably going to see it make another lower low. I'm not sold on this. Definitely not sold on this. So let's go to the daily, so maybe it can sell me on the bulls, because I'm not sold. No. So the volume on this move up isn't really there. The effort isn't really there. Telling me we're getting close to probably another move down on gold. especially with how overextended it is. So if I had to fib it from a macro perspective, it would be here, not here. It's already made the move correction here. And I mean, we're coming into the fibs, we're coming into this structure as well. Why wouldn't it fall at the 61.8? I would be surprised if it doesn't fall here. It's creating this hidden divergence where this indicator is higher or this one's lower, this one, so this one's higher. It's opposite here. Even if it gets up to the 61.8, it's still gonna be opposite. So I'm gonna be bearish on gold when it comes up there. Depending on how it gets there, of course, still, but to me it looks like it's definitely going to be a bearish divergence setup. But on the lower time frames, like the 4 hour, the momentum is strong right here. So strong on that, strong on this, and on this. So it would need to create that bearish divergence, like right. It would have to go kind of a correction, maybe a deeper correction, and then make another impulse and give this type of move with the MACD, and then bring price up here. All right. Oil. I don't really trade oil very much, but let's look at it on the monthly. Starting to put in maybe some rejection, like it wants to continue going up. At the bottom of the Bollinger Band, and it made somewhat of a reversal pattern, but it didn't quite end the week very bullish. But I'm interested to see what oil's going to do. If it does break below here, most likely, got to watch the volume. It's probably going to continue down below this if it breaks below, all the way into probably some nice fib levels. On the daily, it's showing some rejection here. It did give this same 3-wave pattern though. 1, 2, 3. I like that here. And then it exploded up, but it didn't quite break that structure. So not 100% bullish on oil yet. I still think if it breaks through, it's probably going to make one more move down like this. But I don't like going against that. I would like to see it actually make a move up so I can be bullish. Okay. Bitcoin and friends. Monthly on Bitcoin. It's trying to make a comeback, but let's be honest, it didn't. Okay, it just didn't. This is a good sign, though, no doubt. Off the bottom of the Bollinger Band, beautiful move, beautiful everything. I think we're going to see, I mean, we could see it retrace a little bit more, but ultimately this month is closed on the CMEs, and yeah, it didn't do anything special. There was a good amount of volume with the low spread of the candle, so that's something to be interested in. But like I said, I don't think this is the complete bottom. I could very well be wrong, but nothing is screaming bottom on a monthly perspective. Nothing is screaming bottom on a weekly perspective. Okay, when we're looking at this weekly price action, that is sideways. Yes, it's going up a little bit, and yes, this is going up a little bit, but increasing volume with kind of sideways price or small spread candles doesn't tell me anything except watch out for a reversal, honestly. Or if it does print maybe a big bullish candle 1 week and it has bigger volume, then that will kind of show me, oh, okay, well, they were building a case here. All right. It's just can't always read it 100% correct. But right now it's looking to me something is up. I don't know what. It could be the bears are building position, the bulls are building position. Something's up with this. Because it's not that increase and that increase isn't very equal. Okay, and then we have this right here as well. That if we get back into that, I'm just expecting a drop. can't not expect it to not drop right there. On the daily, this is where you can kind of see the structure trying to shift. It hasn't broken low, hasn't made a lower low since July 1st. So it is just steady moving up higher, breaking highs slightly. But now I don't know if it's still like this on the other charts, but the 4-hour was giving this divergence look to it where, oh, it wasn't on the 4 hours, just the daily. So the daily was giving it where price made a higher high and the indicator didn't. But like I just showed on the 4-hour, that kind of made itself go away. So what should we see on Bitcoin? We probably should see a move down, one more move up, and that will give the divergence in the MACD. So that would give like a move down, move up. I would need to see that in the MACD to be super bearish on Bitcoin. Because other than that, I mean, it's just bullish, 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 bullish. So I gotta wait for bearish divergence to kick in. And then Ethereum is very similar, but it already kind of did that move that I wanted to see. So you can kind of see here, this didn't necessarily make new highs while this did. And it has been leading the way, right? It broke that range quick compared to Bitcoin. So here's Bitcoin, here's Ethereum, Bitcoin, Ethereum. Ethereum has been killing it. And it did not create the bullish engulfing. Did it create more volume? No. Okay. So pretty damn close though. Let's go to the weekly. And not a lot of volume on this week, but it is, I mean, if any of them look bullish, it is Ethereum. Ethereum is one of them that kind of is leaning me towards a bullish sentiment more than any of them. It looks like it actually just put in a move on the weekly. First time we've seen that since March 21st, and then back then. So it usually produces more upside, and it's closed. So the next one's going to open and do whatever it wants. Let's go to, one thing about the other signals is they have this red line a lot closer. This one doesn't. Daily, and you can really see the impulse break out of this structure on the daily right here, and then it just never really wanted to come back. Broke out, baby test, left the building. But now it's coming back into this area where you know there was problems with the price. So will we see a drop here? Hopefully. I want to see everything make one more lower low on a macro perspective, so we can get one more position in to take everything to the upside. But guys, with this type of price action and everything just being so bullish, it's hard not to just continue to play these bullish moves, because they are very bullish. Humongous bullish move, backed with another bullish move, way bigger than the bearish moves that have happened. So, I mean, if we do play a bullish move on Ethereum, it's going to be after a pullback and then expecting new highs, right? If this happens, then I'll most likely be looking for shorts, because we should get the bearish divergence from that. We should get that. And that's it for me today, guys. That's it for the weekly macro analysis. You know, the monthly charts, we look at them once a month. We don't like to really stay on these higher time frames on the monthly, really, because that's a little bit boring. But yeah, we do stay on the weekly, daily, 4-hour. So I appreciate y'all for coming on. If you did get some value from that, please tell your friends about us. We do this at least once a week, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. Lots of live trading. Comment down anything that you think we could do better at, or maybe that you think I could do better at, or anything to help optimize the video. Make sure you subscribe, of course, like the video, all that good jazz. Y'all have a good one. I appreciate it. And let's make some money this week. Peace.